Like God showed me the book of Job like I had never understood it before. It got me excited. I go, oh, okay. I get it now. I get it now. You ever do that? Man, I've been reading this book for 30 years. And then suddenly it's like, oh, I get it. I missed the whole point. Then I've preached the book of Job. You see, the reason why I messed up was I grew up in the church. And in the church, you hear people talk about the book of Job, right? You hear it quoted all the time. They go, oh, I sprained my ankle. I'm just like Job, right? Annie, you've said it. Little things happen to you, and you start crying, and you announce to the whole church, I am just like Job. I feel just like him. And I get it. I mean, our pain is very real, but the truth is you're not really like Job, okay? He was the most righteous man on earth, first of all, okay? And you start reading, and then you look at what the guy went through. And it was crazy, right? Okay? See, now in the church, that's where we start the story of Job. But that's not where the story of Job starts. It starts off talking about his righteousness, but then it goes to a part that I often skip because I think it's weird. And you think it's weird. And most people think it's weird. So I'll read it because I like to just go through all the scriptures. If I'm preaching it, I'll just read it, but I'll just kind of say it real quick. Like Job 1, verse 6. There was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them, and the Lord said to Satan, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then he strikes them with, right? That's what we do. Because we don't know what to do with this part. But this part is everything. Okay, in verse 6, look what it says. There was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, from where have you come? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down it. And the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There's no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for no reason? Have you not put a hedge around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You bless the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Okay, that's weird, right? That's like something else is going on up there. We don't like this passage because we don't really know what to do with it. Like, you're telling me Satan went up to where God... Okay, how does that even work, right? Like, is he allowed to just go up and talk to him whenever I don't know. And I don't know if this is a normal thing. Like, who are these sons of God? Is it all the angels? Is it the angels and the demons? They all come before God and they talk. I am not totally sure how it works, but it's in there, right? Somehow Satan goes up to God the Father and says, hey, I've looked throughout the whole earth. And God's saying, have you looked at Job? He goes, oh yeah, I know Job. He didn't really love you. God said, well, he don't love me. And he goes, well, it's because you give him everything he wants. Why don't you take away all these things? And I bet you he'll curse you to your face. Does this really happen up there? Seriously. Like, we don't want to think about this. So is Satan right now, would God pick me? Would he pick you? Is Satan going up there right now and saying, hey, I've been roaming throughout the earth. And God says, hey, what about Francis? Does that still happen? Is there any form of that anymore where Satan is accusing and this and that? I'm not sure, to be honest. But what bothers us about this is, later on, what does God do? God allows Satan to test Job. Man, and it's crazy because all of Job's stuff and all of his riches are taken away. They're just gone. Then, what's crazy is all of his sons and daughters are killed. See, we don't like this passage because we're going, wait, he's not allowed to do that. And then later on you see Job struck with all these sores and boils all over his body, and he's laying there. He's lost everything, all the kids that he loves, and he's sitting there with a clay pot broken, and he's just scraping these sores all over his body. And trying to keep worshiping Jesus, keep worshiping God, and going, blessed be his name. He gives, he takes away, blessed be the name of the Lord. But when you read that, we go, man, we don't like that first part because we realize the world doesn't revolve around me. It's like, does God have the right to let his sons and daughters be killed? Does God have the right to take away everything he owns and then let Satan strike him with this sickness? Like that's all going, it makes you realize like there's a much bigger thing going on. And that's why we don't like it, because if we believe this first part of Job, then we feel like little pawns on a chessboard, right? We feel like little slaves that just, we're just enslaved to whatever he commands. Or worse yet, we feel like created beings who are only made for his glory. Right? It's like, so that's all this is about? Is this not about me? That drives us nuts. It's like, wow, so I'm just created for your glory. That's it. So I was created by him and for him? And so what am I supposed to do? Whether I eat or drink, whatever I do, just kind of do it all for the glory of God? So this isn't about me, it's about him. Man, that's so hard for some of us to stomach, because we don't even teach that in church. We make church all about you. What time you want the service? How long you want it to be? What kind of music you like? What kind of sermons you like? Oh, you don't want me to address your immorality? Okay. Because it's all about you. This world revolves around you. And then you read the book of Job and you go, what in the world? God, are you allowed to do that? What's worse is how the story ends. Because through all of that, Job's not sinning. He's taken it. He just has these questions. Like he's going, man, God, I think, I even made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully upon a woman. If there's people who need a place to live, I'm like, come on in, come into my house. Strangers. He goes, man, it seems like I'm doing it all. And he just kind of delicately, politely, kind of like, I don't quite understand. And then how does God answer him? Job, he does not give the answer that people like. Most people hate the answer that God gives in Job 38. The Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man. I'll question you, and you make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Wait, that's your answer? What kind of answer? Job deserves an answer. You took everything away from him. You let him just get inflicted with all these sores, and he was the most righteous guy on earth. He deserves an answer. And what's God's answer? God answers him out of the whirlwind and goes, you're questioning me? He goes, no, I ask the questions and you give the answers. Here's my first question. Where were you when I made the earth? Tell me, because you're so smart. You've got so much understanding. You're this human. Man, what have you been alive, 50 years now? You're so brilliant. Tell me, I really could have used you when I made the world. Tell me, because you're questioning me, I'm God. That's his answer? What kind of answer is that? We hate it. We live in a country that hates that answer and says, I will not accept that answer. But I'm telling you, it's an answer that God gives. It's the answer that Paul gave in the book of Romans. Right? In Romans chapter 9, when the question's asked, well, if God determines, even before we're born, Jacob I loved, Esau I hated, if all that's true, then how can he find fault? And what is Paul's answer? Who are you, O man, to question God? Shall the created thing say to its maker, why did you make me like this? So you're like a lump of clay that God formed into a cup, and you're going, why'd you make me a cup? He goes, that's the answer Paul gives. The question that's asked is a very logical question in Romans 9. How can God answer with, who are you to question God? Does a lump of clay ever question the potter? See, these are answers that shows a tremendous gap between the creator and the created being. God was reminding Job of that. Paul was reminding the church in Rome of that. Isaiah 55, where he says, look, as high as the heavens are above the earth, that's how high my ways are than your ways. That's how high my thoughts are compared to yours. See the heavens up there and see you guys down here on the little earth? See all those stars way up there? Those are where my thoughts are. And here's where yours are. That's the difference. Look, I'm telling you, there are a lot of answers in this book that I don't like. That Francis would never have come up with. There are many things in this book that my mind disagrees with. And at those times I have to decide, God, do I need to tell you something you don't quite understand? Or maybe God understands some things that I don't. And will I obey when I disagree with him and go, you know what? Maybe as high as the heavens are above the earth, your thoughts are higher than mine. And that's why I didn't come up with that. Rather than flipping it around and go, God, I think you screwed up. I think that command is off. I think that command was for back then. No, you've got to understand the story where this is not about us. It's not about me. If it is really 10 minutes from now that my life is over, man, that's up to him. Maybe that's what he chose, and that's good. I don't know why. Man, I'll be leaving 6 kids behind. They'll figure it out. My parents died. I figured it out. God used me. I don't know. I don't get it. He has these purposes. Like, why does he make some people poor? Maybe so that the believers who are poor will show the world his glory and say, look, I don't care about stuff. I'm like the happiest person on the earth. He sent his son to die for me. And any moment I'm going to inherit all of his riches. And you can bring glory through your poverty. Well, why does he make some people rich? Maybe so that the rich people would say, I don't even care about all these millions of dollars. I'll just give it to the poor. I don't care. I'm already rich in him. I don't need this stuff. And you can bring glory to the God through that. Why is he having you maybe sometimes lonely or you just feel like there's all this pressure on you so that you can glorify him through it? Because again, it's whatever position he puts you in, you just bring glory to God through it. Job began to understand this, and at the end of the day, he says, you know what, I'm just going to shut up. He says, man, I always heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. He says, so I repent. I'm sorry I even asked the question. I get it now. I did this illustration years ago. I wish I could have done it tonight because it was my favorite one. It's like 15 years ago I did this. They used to have these things called overhead projectors. Some of you guys, okay, you guys are laughing because you remember those, right? That's how we used to sing. You had to put, a transparency on the overhead projector and it would shine up there. Okay, all the old schoolers know what I'm talking about. Well, one Sunday, I took one of those overhead projectors and I got this clear plastic cup and I filled it, with like 10 of those, those little bugs, those roly-polies, where when you flick them, they turn into a ball. So I put like 10 of them in a clear cup and I just stuck it on the overhead, and so you saw them crawling around inside the cup. And then I just said, okay, we're going to have a competition. Okay, everyone pick one bug. Okay, which one do you think is going to crawl off of the light first? So everyone's watching these bugs on a screen, like a big screen. They're just watching these roly-polies. I go, everyone's got one? Okay, I want you to cheer for your bug. Okay, this is like thousands of adults, okay? And I go, I'm going to pull the cup up, and these things are going to run. Which one do you think is going to get to the edge first? And I pull the cup up, and this place went nuts. Like thousands of adults, businessmen, housewives, screaming for their bug. And when one of them crawled off of the edge, that 1 second just went nuts, and they're like, do it again, and gather the bugs back. Okay, we'll play one more time, But my point was, at the end of it, I go, do you think those bugs have any clue what's going on right now? They have any idea what's really happening. All they see is this light, and they're just walking. They're just doing their thing. They have no idea that there's thousands of humans that are cheering for them. And my whole point is, you guys, this is what the book of Job teaches. It's not about us. Okay? We're looking at each other going, hey, how you doing today? Oh, I didn't have my quiet time. We're doing this. Hey, how about you? And roll into a ball. It's just... And we're missing the point. The book of Job is saying, look, there's a bigger picture going on. It's not about you. This world doesn't revolve around you. It's about God in heaven looking down on this earth and going, who really loves me in that room? I know this is supposed to be a Christian conference, but man, who's for real in that room? Who really loves me? And could it be that the accuser's just going, they just like the music. They're just here for this. They're just here for that. They don't really love you. Take away their music and see who worships you. Let them go back to their church where the music ain't so great, and we'll see who worships you. Is that going on right now? And are you going to be the man or woman of God that just goes, no, God, watch this, man. Whatever you put me through, I love you. I love you.